Hi. Have you ever felt like relationships are slipping through your fingers? Like every time you approach a relationship, people are like running away from you. They're repelling from you. And it seems like a mystery altogether. You can't figure out why. Like, why do people run away from you? Welcome back to my channel. This is the ReHope Coach, and you have arrived at the ReHope Coach channel. If this is your first time here, I'm so glad to see you. If you are returning, I'm so glad that you made it back. Today in our discussion, we're going to be talking about complex PTSD. Now, you may have heard of PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, but complex PTSD is a little bit different. It's still post-traumatic stress disorder, but it's over an extended period of time. It's something that happens repeatedly. So when you think of like living in poverty, when you think of living with a caregiver that it uses substances, when you think of any abuse that you've incurred throughout your childhood, right? That's repeated. That didn't happen like one time. When you live in a dysfunctional family, when you grew up in your childhood, or even in your adulthood, when those factors contribute to your upbringing and then they cause a negative impact in your adulthood, that's what complex PTSD is. Now, we're going to talk about the three behaviors that arise from an experience with complex PTSD, and then those behaviors end up pushing people away. And you may not have ever known that you had those behaviors. So, as we dive into those behaviors, we're going to find out the repercussions that they actually have on relationships and then gain some valuable insights and practical solutions to how we can deal with that impact. So, the three behaviors that really push people away when you deal with complex PTSD are emotional detachment, hypervigilance, and self-sabotage. Now, out of the three, comment below which one are you the most familiar with? Which one do you know that you do? Which one have you heard over and over again? I know that you're probably familiar with hypervigilance if you ever have been diagnosed with PTSD, know anyone that has PTSD, you probably have an idea of what hypervigilance is, right? That's when you're startled easily, something, a sound, a person, a thing, anything that represents your trauma will trigger you, and then you're hyper super sensitive to it. Like you have a response that's sometimes unexplainable, and you could be around someone and they have no idea why you're responding in that way. But you can see someone from a mile away, that's a trigger. You can see something that's a mile away, or you can hear something that no one else hears, and it can be a trigger, and therefore you're hyper vigilant to it, super sensitive to it. Emotional detachment, that's a behavior where you have no feelings, right? You can kind of figure that out. Comment below if that's something that you know that you do. Emotional detachment is when you withdraw so that you don't feel any pain, you don't feel any discomfort regarding the relationship, regarding a circumstance. You detach yourself from it emotionally so that you make sure that by no means you are going to feel any pain, any kind of discomfort. And then self-sabotage. Comment below if you are a person that engages in self-sabotage. Now, I can admit, I'm going to be honest and transparent here. I am guilty of self-sabotage. Just being transparent when, now I can say so now, and I did not know it in the beginning. When I first started dating my now husband, I was guilty of self-sabotage. What I would do was anything disruptive, anything that was odd behaviors, the behaviors that were opposite of what he preferred, I seemed to engage in. And now that I reflect back, it was like a subconscious thing. Subconscious thing. Like I didn't realize that I was doing it. But now that I look back at it, I was engaging in behaviors that were the opposite, like the things that would absolutely turn him off. I was engaging in those behaviors. I would show up late, and he is a prompt guy. Like he likes to be on time, and I would show up tardy to the party all the time, and it would piss him off. I would like do little things that would be agitating, and that would really turn him off. And it was like I thought he was too good to be true, so I was trying to ruin the situation for myself, because maybe if I could push him away early enough, I would not get hurt. My feelings wouldn't get hurt. I would not get abandoned. He would not leave me, and I would be okay, because I had to make sure that I would be okay, because so often than not, I was left with the trauma of someone leaving me or someone making sure that they caused me some kind of pain. And that's what self-sabotage is. Comment below if you know that you are a person that engages in one of three of these behaviors, or all three, or just two of them, whatever it is. But I'm pretty sure, more likely than not, you probably have engaged in self-sabotage, because we do that in work, we do that in friendships, we do that in intimate partner relationships. It's easy to do. It's something that may come natural, especially if you have been a victim of some type of trauma. If you have been a survivor, if you are a survivor of some type of trauma. So let's go into understanding the root causes of these behaviors. What causes these behaviors and their impact on our relationships? These behaviors often stem from the traumas that have heightened our senses of fear and our insecurities. So the traumas that we've experienced, they have pushed us to have a heightened sense of fear, like I was speaking of, and we're totally insecure. Therefore, because we are fearing that someone is going to harm us, hurt us, cause us pain, and we're so insecure that we don't deserve anyone or anything that's that good, we are quote unquote bad because we may have been told that we're bad. Therefore, we have to ruin it. We have to engage in these poor behaviors to push people away. They don't belong with us. We don't belong with them. We have to push them away. And subconsciously, we engage in these behaviors. It's like a knee-jerk effect to engage in these behaviors to get them out the picture, to get them away from us, so that we don't ruin them, because we're quote unquote ruined. And that is because of our past trauma. We have that feeling that we are ruined, but that's not the truth. That's what's instilled in us, because we haven't healed from our trauma. We haven't healed from our C-ptsd. And today, you're probably first hearing about C-ptsd and knowing that because you've experienced trauma over and over again for a prolonged amount of years, you are a survivor of C-ptsd. See, I get confused myself as C-ptsd, right? Complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So how do we build healthier connections and relationships? How so? How can we correct this? How do we start? What do? We definitely engage in self-awareness, compassion for ourselves, and we get professional help. You don't have to do it alone. You definitely want to get a therapist. You want to tell the truth with your therapist, right? The worst thing that you could do is get a therapist and then lie to your therapist. Absolutely worst thing you could ever do. Do not lie to your therapist. I am a therapist. I am a counselor. I am a psychotherapist. I am a trauma empowerment coach. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm all of the above. And I coach couples. I counsel couples. And I counsel individuals. I coach individuals. And the worst thing that could ever happen in the couple relationship is when couples come to therapy and they lie. But the thing about me is I have a gift of discernment that God has given me. So if you're an individual that's working with me, or a couple that's working with me, and we're face to face, virtually or in person, I can tell when it's something that you're not telling me. So I can discern it. There's something in my gut that's telling me that this is not the whole story. This is not the whole picture. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you're wasting my time and yours, not telling me what the root of the problem is, not getting to that, because it's a waste of your money. And I don't want you to waste your time, your money, your energy, not telling the truth. So when you work with these professionals to build these healthier relationships and to change these behaviors, you need to tell the truth. You can work with a therapist. You can work with a mental health professional. You can work with a trauma empowerment coach. Because the thing about me being a trauma empowerment coach, I have the history with the clinical training. So I'm not just a coach that's a life coach, but I have clinical training in trauma specifically, that I can work with the trauma that you've been through, and then I can push you forward with the coaching to move you forward to the goals that you want to reach. Also, with therapy, we work with the mental health diagnoses, working through all of the past dysfunction that you've been through, the family stuff, all of that good stuff. And then you can work with the therapist and you can work with the coach. But another most important thing is that you develop the self-awareness of, first, you have to realize that it's something. There's something that happened to you. There's something that's going on. There's something that you need to work on. The self-awareness is key, and having the self-compassion. Realizing that you can provide yourself the love, the awareness, and the forgiveness, and just the understanding that it's nothing wrong with you. It's something that happened to you, and you got to give yourself grace. The same grace that you would give to somebody else, you got to give it to yourself. So, also important thing that I almost forgot is establishing the boundaries. So the worst thing that you could ever do is, and while you're in this healing process, is to continue to be around the people that trigger you, right? And know the limits that you have. So if there's certain things that trigger you, if there's certain things that you cannot participate in while you're trying to work on these 3 behaviors or whatever the behaviors are, you have to stay away. You have to set healthy boundaries. You have to know when enough is enough. You have to know when to hang up the phone, to not argue. You have to set these healthy boundaries, right? Establish those boundaries and make sure that you have a great support system. Someone that's going to be there in between the therapy sessions, in between the times that you're with the professionals, someone that's a really good listening ear that you can count on, that you can actually trust, because you can't trust everybody. Everyone cannot hold the container. Everyone is not a safe space, right? Understand that. Please understand it. So now that we've explored the C-PTSD and how it can impact the relationships that you have, the 3 behaviors that you probably been working through that you didn't know even existed within you, let's dive a little deeper. When we are dealing with this, it's normally because we have deep-rooted inner childhood wounds. In our next episode, we're going to cover the inner childhood wounds. And I want you to make sure that you click the link and watch so that you don't miss this next episode about inner childhood wounds. Also, I have a new guide, an ebook on overcoming childhood trauma that's going to connect you with the inner childhood wounds and the C-PTSD, so that'll help guide you while we're working through this. Some people are visual, so they need something to actually put their hands on, learn more terminologies that can help them. Make sure that you stay tuned for the next episode that's going to cover your inner childhood wounds. I want you to discover the proven strategies to overcome childhood wounds, trauma, and embark on your healing journey in self-discovery. So let's deal with this today so that we can heal for tomorrow. Discover the wounds, deal with them, treat the trauma so that you can work on your next tomorrow in the future. Until next time, this is your ReHope Coach.